skeletal operations in financial systems money market will be available despite President Buhari's announcement of a lockdown in Lagos, FCT Ogun for 14 days. Trader money, market money and farmer money loans enjoy a 3 months moratorium, plus stock market transactions have as coronavirus shut trading floors. This is Business Express reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital, and I am Benny Adams, your guide. Nigerians have been assured they can still perform online transactions and use ATMs while observing the restrictions imposed by government occasioned by the coronavirus pandemic. Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, and the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, in a joint statement say they have obtained exemptions from the President for all affected stakeholders to allow very skeletal operations in the financial system and money markets to keep the system in light operations during this time. They urge relevant staff of affected outfits to wait for further instructions and urge Nigerians to be patient, cooperative and united as all hands are on deck to defeat the virus. Following cessation of all movements in Lagos and Abuja for an initial period of 14 days, President Muhammadu Buhari has considered more palliative measures to cushion the possible effect of the lockdown as he exempts hospitals and all related medical establishments as well as organizations in healthcare, manufacturing and distribution.
We shall deploy relief materials to ease their pains in the coming weeks. Furthermore, although schools are closed, I've directed that a 3-month repayment moratorium for all trader money, market money, and farmer money loans be implemented with immediate effect. I have also directed that a similar moratorium be given to all federal government-funded loans issued by the Bank of Industry, Bank of Agriculture, and the Nigerian Export-Import Bank. For on-lending facilities using capital from international and multilateral development partners, I have directed our development financial institutions to engage these development partners and negotiate concessions to ease the pains of the borrowers. I have directed that the conditional cash transfers for the next 2 months be paid immediately. Our internally displaced persons will also receive 2 months of food rations in the coming weeks.
All seaports in Lagos are to remain operational as vehicles and drivers conveying essential cargoes from these ports to other parts of the country will be screened, including vehicles conveying food and other essential humanitarian items into locations on lockdown. Business Express returns after this break. To discuss the President's address to the nation as it relates to the economy in light of the coronavirus pandemic is Ni Akinsiju. He is an investment analyst. Ni, you're welcome to Business Express.
My pleasure, thanks so much.
Good to have you at a time such as this.
Really unprecedented times.
Yes. Let's start with the bottom of the ladder now. The President's directive for a 3-month repayment moratorium for all trader money, farmer money, and market money loans. How far can this go in cushioning the effect of what the country and other parts of the world are going through?
Well, it's definitely, it's not about that whole segment of the bottom of the ladder, of the bottom of the pyramid category. What the president is trying to do is to contain the comfort, of that particular segment of the business environment. It's the micro business that the government had been engaging. So if you're talking of traders' money, farmers' money, market money, and all that, what you are talking about essentially people who had been who were lent money, through the Bank of Industry, through the CBN interventions and all that, at no collateral, without collateral, and minimal interest rates, of course, they are expected to pay monthly, but with this incident as it is, the transaction capacity is limited, and because the transaction capacity is limited, it means they will not be able to do business, and therefore what the president has said, allow them a 3-month period, that's a moratorium, to start repaying again. So it's like going on a break for 3 months, not to pay down as it is normal commitment for any person that had borrowed from any institution. So for that period, of course, it is an acknowledgement of the fact that the economy is more or less prostrate, and that the money that had been lent will not be active. So government will not be expecting anything in return, from them, just because there is a need to provide comfort for this segment of the people.
Well, this particular segment, as of the last count, I think there are about 2 million people. Yeah. If you agree with me, that's quite a population, a target audience. But then a similar moratorium is being granted federal government funded loans issued by the same Bank of Industry. You have the Bank of Agri, you have the Nexim Bank, that's the Export Bank. What's your take on that? Will it also help expand meeting a huge population of this economic active members?
What we need to first acknowledge is that a time like this, especially when you talk of a lockdown of business, of a geographical area, we are talking of Abuja, the political and administrative capital of the country. We are talking of Lagos, the economic and as some people will say, commercial capital of the country. What we are saying essentially is 90% or thereabout of economic activities in Nigeria are going to be locked in, over the next 14 days. And what that means is that there's dormancy, redundancy
within this period.
And of course, capital is a productive item. So where capital is dormant, and I'm talking of all factors of capital here. So for this period, all factors of capital are dormant. All factors of production are dormant. So the best intervention is to provide a buffer, for capital and all factors of production, as it were, to rest, There will be no expectation. So what the president has done is to say, look, virtually everybody that is under one form of commitment or the other, you are given a moratorium. Take your time. We don't expect so much from you. So what it means is that no economic activities will be happening, but those beneficiaries can at least sustain themselves. And of course, at the upper level, where you have the medium scale, and the small scale, what is also expected is that after this, they must be enabled, to continue productive activities, because that is what will also sustain, the economy coming after this. The major risk we are facing now, which is very, very obvious, is the risk of huge unemployment. It is the risk of, everybody has known that supply shortages, disruptions in supplies. It's the risk of demand decline. So it's a double, even it's more than a triple dilemma.
Okay, talking about the dilemma, 14 days might seem short, but from what you are saying, it can impact so much on the economy, am I right?
24 hours would impact, because now from the day economic activities had been slowed down through interventions by different states, economic shutdown had been read in terms of losses. So from 11 p.m. today now, we'll be counting our economic losses. That is, and what will be the losses? What we should have earned, in a particular day that we are not earning. So from tomorrow now, Tuesday, across Lagos, Ogun State, and Abuja, and of course related cities and states around it, the cost will be what we are supposed to earn per day that we are no longer earning. So that is driving down the economic space. And what that one will also tell you is that because the factors of production are not engaged, the people that are at the center of production will not also be engaged.
Okay, talking about these people at the center of production who are benefiting from these incentives from government, we also have the conditional cash transfer to the vulnerable in society. And we will still have the IDPs. Now government have said, okay, let's look into their own dilemma and get to see how we can make things easy for them. What do you take of that?
They are the victims, more or less, the people at the bottom of the pyramid. So if you're talking of cash transfer, it's mainly for the vulnerable, those that are not economic agents, So they have been benefiting from this. So what the president is trying to do is also to cushion the possible impact of this on them, by saying, okay, we'll give you upfront 2 months of what you are supposed to take, Now this will provide maximum something to eat in the house. So when that is taken care of, at least body and soul, is put together. At the level of the IDPs, if a state is locked down, they depend, and an IDP also is not an economic agent, so is a dependent person. So therefore, there's a need for an intervention for government to provide. So if you are locking that for 14 days, and there's no way, even neighborliness will not be effective at this time, it is also important that government provides for the needs of this set of people, if it's only to sustain their lives, as it were.
Which was a good action by the government.
Very good, very good.
Well, instruments of government have been put in place, have been mobilized. Talking about COVID-19, we've seen initial intervention of 15 billion, 10 billion. Lagos State government benefited from 10 billion. The NCDC from 5 billion. We have the Afro-Nexim Bank giving a 3 billion intervention, as well as other interventions to cushion this effect. NNPC 11 billion, a total of about 36 billion is coming on board, all for COVID-19, for health and economic reasons. What do you make of this? Do we still need more? And do you see us injecting some of these monies not just into control of COVID-19, but also to get facilities that will sustain us beyond this?
Yeah, where I would come from is the 100 billion naira committed or pledged by the CBN, targeted at the health sector. Don't forget that we have a history of domestic productive moribundness in the area of pharmaceuticals. We can count on the tip of our fingers how many drugs are produced in this country, you know. And I think it is in the realization of that the CBN had said at this time, we are going to provide 100 billion naira facility for whoever is in that sector to apply, you know, at 5%. Interest rates. It's normal CBN intervention is normally at 9%.
9%, yeah.
So with this is part of the coronavirus intervention management system. All Anchor Borrowers program and other sort of interventions that had 9% had been reduced to 5%. So the 100 billion is targeted at the health sector. If you want to build establish specialist hospitals, if you want to establish pharmaceutical drug producing companies, laboratories, blood banks, and all that, that 100 billion naira is targeted at you.
Another part of the intervention, maybe you add up to this one, is on the external debt facility, which the president directed development financial institutions to engage development partners as well as negotiate concessions on to ease the pains of the borrowers, considering the call by the World Bank and IMF for suspension of debt repayment. What is the likely scenario? What's the benefit like?
It's a sovereign benefit. It's for Nigeria. What the president has done is to link up, anchor with what the IMF and the World Bank are advocating, that at this time, all International Development Association members, there is a segment of the Bretton Woods institution known as the IDAs, mainly made of emerging and developing countries, countries that are vulnerable, you know, and they are given, you know, inconsequential support at some times, you know. So these members are said to be at risk at times like this. And of course, there's also the threat of huge debt overhang on these countries, and Nigeria is one of such. So at this time, what the advocacy is about is restructure the debt, extend the debt payment, and of course, suspend for now debt servicing.
Okay, all of this intervention is a good thing the government did, as you've said, and we've all acknowledged. But you know, at times, on some of these issues, the president said with immediate effect, some of these things take protocols for the beneficiaries to get to benefit. What's your last word? What's your last appeal to implementers of these directives?
Well, the president is the commander-in-chief and, of course, the ultimate authority in this matter. It's when it makes, especially for the directives that had to do with domestic activations, I think the president holds the last word. But, of course, when you have to negotiate with international financial institutions and development institutions, it may take some diplomatic engagement and all that, you know, but that may not be with immediate effect. But for the CBN, the Bank of Industry, the Nigerian Import banks and all that, once the president has given his word, you activate, because you are supposed to be subject to the president, as it were.
Thank you so very much, Ni Akisiju. It's always a pleasure having you on board. Moving on. Activities in Abuja and most parts of the country are on very low key, and one of the essential products people need and may not be able to do without is petroleum products, as Abuja, Lagos and other states across the country shut down. The management of the NNPC has warned against activities of saboteurs aimed at hindering the supply of petroleum products across the country and assures of the availability of the product during the period.
I will talk to DPR to ensure that all filling stations are kept open during this period.
Our supply is robust. We have fuel that will last this country even for 60 days, assuming we don't even import any.
About 2.6 billion liters, both in country and in our depots.
The government is watching, and any association that tries to go contrary to the directives, the government, in the overall interest of the public, has the right to proscribe any association. So let marketers come out and sell product freely to Nigerians. It is this time that Nigerians need the cooperation of all, and not to aggravate the impact of the COVID on fellow citizens.
The momentum of activities at the Nigerian stock market nearly halved as it descends to its lowest level in recent times after authorities shut trading floors across the country as precaution against the spreading of coronavirus pandemic. All indicators of the activities at the Nigerian Stock Exchange closed last weekend with turnover volume, value and number of deals at their lowest in recent period. The NSE had on Wednesday, March 25th, shut down its trading floors across the country under a 30-day COVID-19 emergency response program. On how the markets performed the week ended 27th March 2020, let's join Bosede Ebo.
Stock market report for the week ended March 27, 2020 shows that the NSE All-Share Index depreciated by 1.52% to close the week at 21,861.78, with market capitalization dropping to 11.3 trillion naira. All other indices finished lower, with the exception of NSE Banking, NSE Insurance, NSE AfriBank Value and NSE Meri Value, which appreciated, while NSE ASM Index closed flat. At a turnover of 1.4 billion shares worth 14.9 billion naira in 21,828 deals were traded in the week by investors on the floor of the exchange. The financial services industry led the activity chart with 1.2 billion shares valued at 10.5 billion naira, traded in 14,944 deals. The conglomerate industry followed with 50.2 million shares, while the third place was the consumer goods industry. Trading in the top three equities were Zenith Bank PLC, Guaranty Trust Bank PLC, and FBN Holdings. They jointly accounted for 713.7 million shares worth 8.6 billion naira in 8,608 deals. 20 units of exchange traded products, ETPs, valued at 130.9 naira were traded in the week in 2 deals, as well as federal government bonds of 28,527 valued at 29.9 million naira in 18 deals. 34 equities appreciated in price during the week. 30 equities depreciated in price, while 99 equities remained unchanged.
Stocks were off to a slow start at the beginning of the week as the market adjusts to recent developments occasioned by the coronavirus pandemic that has forced stock exchange to go virtual. And as investors and brokers try to make the best of the season, the market gauges are yet to pick up. The all-share index at the end of Monday's session dropped by 2.43% to 21,330.79 points, while the market capitalization also dropped to 11.116 trillion naira. Maya, Champion Breweries and Zenith Bank were the most active stocks. On the global scene, Asian markets extend losses as toll from the coronavirus pandemic surges. Bosede Ebo has details.
Markets around the globe have been unstable in recent weeks as investors continue to watch for development on the global coronavirus pandemic. Stocks in major Asian markets in early trading of Monday 30th March saw stocks mixed as investors continue to assess the economic impact of the virus that has continued to spread rapidly. Nikkei fell 1.57% to close at 19,084.97. Shanghai Composite down 0.9% to 2,747.21, and the Hang Seng Index also depreciated by 1.32% to close 23,175.11. European markets withdrew as the coronavirus pandemic remains in focus for investors. DAX was 0.49% lower, FTSE 100 0.94%, and CAC 40 1%. US stock futures were mostly lower, following sharp gains last week as the number of coronavirus cases in the U.S. continues to rise at an alarming rate. Dow Jones Industrial Average futures were off by 4.06%, S&P 500 3.37%, and Nasdaq Composite was also down 3.79%. In Africa, Nairobi's All Share, Tunisia's Tunidex, and South Africa's JSE Africa Top 40 appreciated, while Namibia's overall index and Ghana's GSE Composite were negative.
This is the point where we end this edition of Business Express. We value your feedback, so keep the comments, observations, and suggestions coming. Be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on the NTA's channel. You can also communicate with us on Twitter, and the handle is NTA News Now. Don't forget to use the hashtag #It'sBizX. Remember to always wash your hands with soap under running water as the world battles COVID-19. Be safe out there. Business Express returns Wednesday. I am Benny Adams.